SportsBroadcasting.com. Thanks so much for joining us. We now shift gears to the Region Sportsdesk part of that. The video camera is up, and for those who are video, we are live again here. Well, we're doing it live on MAB at Carriage Court Pizza in Crown Point. And again, if you got that hungry food in South Lake County, the folks here at Carriage Court can hook you up. 219-663-6551 in the Crown Point and their Northwest Indiana neighbors for over a quarter century. Check them out. Open Monday through Saturday at 11 a.m. and they are open on Sundays at noon. Carriage Court Pizza, one of the best pizza in Northwest Indiana. You can check it out on Facebook as well. We're back after a week off, JT, and after a week 2 picks, it's probably a good thing we were last week. Boy, oh boy, there was some carnage on picks. My goodness.
But hey, at least I got my cheese head lock right, and I also had your power play.
How about that?
So that was the highlight of this from week 2. But looking back at week 3, what really stands out to you? I think for me, the big comeback victory for Chesterton. They were down 17 points and made a furious fourth quarter rally to steal that game from Michigan City, and now Chesterton sitting there at 2-1.
You have to wonder maybe the way we know Michigan City is improved, but you have to wonder maybe with only the 3 days in between games due to Mother Nature wreaking havoc. You want to wonder maybe if that was a little bit of a factor, but then to be able to come back in a couple of big defensive plays and to stun the Wolves, who were trying to almost have a version of 3-0 start for the first time since Craig Museum was there in 2009. Credit to Chester, and 2-1. You got to figure, if we just talked about it on the show, this could be a team that is a dark horse in the dual conference race.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they can do the next couple of weeks here, but yeah, nice comeback victory for them, and I think I was a little bit disappointed in Highland. I thought Highland would give Munster a little bit more of a battle just because of Munster having so little time to prepare. I thought, it's not that I thought Highland was a great football team, but I thought they could at least make Munster work a little bit harder to win that ball game.
So it was your turn to be disappointed in the team, huh?
Yeah, I just thought that this was Highland's best opportunity to, maybe steal one from Munster, because, obviously Munster not only having 3 days to prepare, and also, in a lot of the years this game is very lopsided, so maybe some of those Munster players, could have overlooked Highland, but it didn't happen, Bob.
No, it didn't.
So let's move on to week 4, and I think week 4 starting, you're going to start seeing some of the pretenders and contenders split apart, and so we'll see if we can bring back that good picking magic. So let's start things off. Boone Grove traveling to Liberty Field. They're going to play North Judson. I was at the game last year, Bob, and that was probably the best game of the season that I'd seen in person. Boone Grove was down 3 touchdowns. They made a furious comeback, and in the last minute of the game, they scored a touchdown, made a 2-point conversion to upset the Blue Jays. Bob, you got 2 teams going in 2 completely different directions. Yeah. I never would have saw this coming. I would have thought Boone Grove would have been struggling early with all those seniors that are replaced, and I thought North Judson would have been, at least maybe 2-1. But boy, Judson struggling, and Boone Grove 3-0.
Yeah, you have to wonder what happened to Kirk Kennedy's ball club losing to Knox week 2 after taking care of the Glen Falcons in week 1, and last week they just ran into that buzzsaw. Rensselaer, Chris Meeks ball club, really played at another level right now. If you look at that sectional 33, I got to get used to upping the rest of the 5 into 1 sectionals plus 8, because it was 6-8. But that sectional 33, they're probably the class of that sectional right now. When you look at sectional 33 right now, the only 2 teams undefeated in that sectional are Rensselaer and Boone, believe it or not. And just looking ahead to the schedule, they do not play in the regular season, so it's a long way to go. But at this time, Boone, going to a very tough place at Liberty Field. I just think Boone, the Wolves, if you combine the Wolves and horses, I think the Wolves are going to have the horses to win on the road Friday night.
Yeah, you know what? I thought about this game, before the season started, when I found out, the Coons going to North Judson. And with what happened last year, I thought there's no way this can happen again. North Judson's definitely going to win this ball game. But after what's transpired the last couple of weeks, I'm just not sure what to think of that North Judson team. And you you had their schedule up, they're going to have a lot of difficult games down the stretch. You know, Pioneer, they might be able to beat Pioneer.
It's the weakest Pioneer team in a while.
But you look beyond that, I'm not seeing very many victories on the horizon for the Blue Jays. And with the way Boone Grove's playing right now, I got to say the Wolves are going to go in there and take care of it again. I think it's going to be a tight game, a close game. I don't see Boone Grove blowing out North Judson, but I see it a very close game like it was last year. Maybe a few less points. I'm taking Boone Grove as well.
All right.
Calumet at River Forest, and the Warriors have actually put up a couple of victories, Bob.
Yes, they have. Good to see that with Ivy Zimmers Ball Club. Back-to-back wins over Clark and North Newton. A couple of nail-biting wins, but their wins nevertheless. River Forest, of course, with a win over their big rivalry game. I think they got something like 7 turnovers in a win over Lake Station a week ago. Should be an interesting matchup at Ray Manning Field. I'm going to say a little red or white mojo is going to keep going. I'm going to go Calumet here.
You know what? I'm going to disagree, Bob. We got to have some disagreement here. I'm loving me some ingots. What do you call them? The molten masses.
They are the molten masses of metal. Yeah.
The metalheads are going to get it done.
I just look at Calumet's played a little better competition for the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, can't go wrong with beating your arch rival. River Forest has had struggles with Lake Station over the past few years, but I think winning 27-0 last week is a good sign for them. Moving on, Chicago Julian, they're from Illinois, obviously. Traveling.
You don't say.
Yeah, I don't say. I do say. I know, Mr. Obvious over here. They're going to play Roosevelt, Bob, and Gary Roosevelt. That program's in.
They got some problems right now. Had a tough go last week against East Chicago. I don't know much about Julian, but I'm going to take Julian.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I have to go Julian here as well. This is going to be a very interesting matchup. Griffith on the road taking on Lowell. Of course, Griffith fell to Hobart last week, but their offense put up 38 points.
640 yards.
And
Kyle Bucheball had probably his best game at quarterback. He had over 400 yards of offense last week. Ran for about 240 yards. He threw for about 180. And really, the difference in the game was either over 56-38. 3 turnovers for Griffith. They had a pick 6 that Nick Bolton ran back about 70-some-odd yards for a touchdown. And Griffith lost 2 fumbles inside the over 5-yard line.
Yeah, they're taking on a Lowell team who just came off its first victory of the season. They regained the milk can from KV, but they also had 2 devastating injuries in that ballgame. They lost their quarterback Seth Anderson and George Fields.
Now I heard it was a hamstring for Fields. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, but the status, for both of those players in this game is unknown, at least at this point. Maybe more will be revealed later in the week, but at this point, we have no idea if either one of those players will be playing in this ball game. And I'll tell you what, if they don't play, this changes things drastically, Bob. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think Fields will find a way to play. Lowell's playing at home, great home field advantage with the Inferno. Griffith has a lot of issues defensively. They only forced 1 tricky punt last week, did not get any turnovers. Chester Green is the real deal. He might be the quickest player in Northwest Indiana. He's going to kill for a couple of scores, but I just think Lowell's going to find a way, and if it's not Fields, I still think they're going to be very workmanlike. They're going to find a way to get it done. I like the Red Devils in the Inferno.
Well, I'm very concerned about Lowell's offense, especially if they don't play. I think they're going to struggle getting the production from other guys, and we'll see if somebody else can step up. I think Bobos is the backup to Anderson, and he might be thrown in the fire. I'm just concerned about Lowell's offense. I know their defense is solid, and I think they can hold down Griffith's scoring, but I just don't think that their offense is potent enough to win this ball game without a playmaker like Fields or without Seth Anderson, because he's actually done a pretty nice job through the air. I'm going to take Griffith to win this one on the road, which might be considered an upset, but I think without these 2 playmakers, it might not be that big of an upset.
And no offense though, but after the first 3 weeks, this will probably be the weakest defense we'll see this season though. I think we'll put up some points.
Maybe you're right. We'll see. Here's an interesting one. After what happened last week, I thought, well, you know what? I don't think Highland's going to win another ball game this year. But they do play Clark at home, and Bob, I think the Trojans are going to put up another victory. I think they'll be 3-1 after this week.
Yeah, tough going for the Pioneers. They were up early, out 3-0 on Morton before Morton came storming back, though. But tough go for Clark. Right now, Jay Novak's trying to get that program going right now. I look for the Trojans to take care of this one.
All right, moving on. East Chicago, very impressive last week, dominating Gary Roosevelt. They are now 2-1. Taking on a Gavitt program, they're still kind of having their struggles, but
they'll be competitive for the most part.
Yeah, but I think East Chicago's on a totally different level from what they've played first 3 weeks. I don't see any way Chicago loses this game. I think they're going to win this one big. Huge offensive explosion.
Yeah, Gavin's been competitive, just 1-2 on the season. The loss they had, one of those losses, 20-something to White. I think it was only a 3-0 game at the half, and they were very competitive, losing to Blue Girl last week. I'm going to have to agree with you here. The Gladiators, I think, are going to be stepping up in class this week, taking out a very strong East Chicago ball club. Make no mistake about it, East Chicago's already thinking about September 27th when the Board of Governors come up to Pete Brzezinski Field. They're waiting for a chance to go after them again. But in the meantime, we're going to get some wins here under their belt. I like the Cards this week.
Well, speaking of the Board of Governors, they're going to play their arch rival this week. Playing at the Cat Pound, the Hammer Wildcats, and the Wildcats have had a struggling start to their 2013 campaign, although they did come off their first victory last week against Bowling. I think the Governors are just on a totally different level than any other team in the city of Hammer right now, Bob. And as well as Hammer would love to make this game competitive and pull off a huge upset. I just don't see it happening. I think the Governors are going to win this by at least a possession.
Don't forget the revenge factor. Hammond High had a win over the Govs last year. So that's going to be the back of where Richards had the Governors live. I like Morton here to kind of get a little payback this time around.
I think their defense is just their defense is a lot better than it was last year.
Giving up 10 points a game so far in 3 games.
That's not bad.
And that really, when you look at Morton over the years, that's not what they're known for.
Oh, you're right. It's more about scoring, putting up huge numbers, scoring a lot of points with their defense. No question about it. Lake Station taking out Bishop Knoll this week. I gotta say, Knoll's had its struggles, but they've been very competitive at least in 2 of the 3 games. They won their first game against South Central last week. Lake Station, tough loss to the Ingots. I just gotta think Bishop Knoll's in a better position right now. I think their program is kind of on the upswing, at least in Class 2A. They had a nice end of their season last year, and I think Knoll is going to be a team on the rise.
I look for Knoll to win, take care of this one this week, and looking ahead to next week, they'll host Whitey, which probably for all practical purposes, I think is going to be the greatest South Shore Championship game. After that, whoever wins it, I think you look at the rest of the game, I think Bishop Knoll had a chance to really string some weeks together come the second season. This could be a team that could go 6-3, I think, come regular season.
I think it's very possible.
I like them to get back to 500 Friday night.
Yeah, I agree too. Bishop Knoll will definitely win this ball game. Speaking of Chesterton Trojans, they had a huge come-from-behind win last week. LaPorte, they're in a downward spiral. They're 0-3, still looking for their first victory. They made the game with Valpo competitive last week, Bob. But I still think offensively, LaPorte is just struggling to find itself right now. And Chesterton, you kind of mentioned a team that might be challenging some of those top teams in the DAC this year. Is this a slam dunk for the Trojans this week?
I don't think it's a slam dunk, and LaPorte's been battle-tested. They've been playing a lot better since their Week 1 loss where they just got shellacked by New Prairie. They were very competitive. Almost, they had Homer out of the ropes up 2 touchdowns before they're coming back in. It was a competitive loss last week to Valpo Rays went home. The key word for Chesterton tonight, or this week, can they avoid the letdown? That's the big key. Here's a question for you folks out here on the Region Sportsdesk Facebook page. Is Cole Teal the best quarterback in the Doolin Conference?
Wow.
Think about that.
Well,
that's some food for thought.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's got to be up there after the first 3 games he's had.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. That's a very interesting question, and I'd be very intrigued to hear what some of you out there would have to say about that.
And there's a pretty decent court. I know Jadis, I don't think is 100% for Crown Point yet. Wilkins is still developing.
He's still pretty raw.
We see flashes from Washington at Michigan City, and then you got Kermit, who's pretty solid at Portage. Lake Central's right now. Owen's been out. Hittinger's not bad at Valpo. I mean, it's a really interesting question.
Yeah, that's certainly up for debate. I don't know. That's hard to say. I mean, I'm not sure I could really, go one way or the other on that one. But
I call it a discussion.
Yeah, that's right. I have to take Chester. I mean, I have to think this is a 2 or 3 touchdown game. I'm looking at like a 35-14 type game. I don't see any way LaPorte comes into Chesterton and beats the Trojans. It's just.
I mean, they are probably for a letdown, especially after the way they won last week.
Maybe, but
they are probably. But I look for Chester, and I think it's going to be a little closer than what you think. Maybe like a 21-14 type ball game.
I still think LaPorte's a rebuilding project right now. I still think they have a long way to go. If they want to be, even in the middle of the pack of the DAC, I just don't see any wins on the horizon for LaPorte right now. But they could prove me wrong. We'll see. But I'll take Chesterton at home in this one. Speaking of letdowns, Michigan City had a big fourth quarter letdown last week. They had Chesterton down 17 and couldn't hold on. They're a team that's very close, but they're just not quite there yet. Taking on Valpo, who recorded their first victory of the season last week, taking out LaPorte. So, wow, this is an interesting game. Michigan City showing that they have the offense to play with a lot of teams. They certainly put up some big numbers the first 2 weeks of the season, and Valpo with the competition that they played.
Last time
Michigan
City notched a win with Valpo, they can go back to 2009. That's the last time. And Michigan City's offensive, but I think the win last week for Valpo was just what the doctor ordered for Dave Coyle's ball club. I think this has the potential to be an entertaining game. You can see a game like what Michigan City had last week, in the fashion they lost. They could do one of 2 things. They can deflate a team for the rest of the season, or they can rally around it and they can come out with a purpose this week. I don't really have a gauge on how this Michigan City team may react, but I just think Valpo's a little better team than Michigan City at this juncture of the season. I think this is going to be a heck of a game, but I think Valpo will squeak it. That's my pick here.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this game, Bob, and I think this really could go either way. I would not be surprised to see Michigan City win this game. I think their offense is pretty darn good. They still put up 28 points on Chesterton last week, so this offense is going to score. They're going to put up some points. I think I have to agree with you on this one, though. I think Valpo playing at home, getting their first win over LaPorte. You look at the competition they've played the first 2 weeks of the season. There's nothing that's going to surprise this Viking team after what they've had to encounter the first 2 games. So I think I'm with you. I think Valpo wins a close one at home. And here's another interesting contest, Bob. I think a lot of people will look at this game on paper and they'll say, Portage playing at Maryville. Maryville's a much better team. They have an explosive offense. It's a slam dunk for the Pirates. But as we've seen in years past, this game has been very competitive, and in most cases, it's come right down to the wire.
Listen live on MidAmericanBroadcasting.com. I would normally point to here, but for some reason, we've been missing the graphics on your videos. By the way.
Yeah, well, I haven't been putting them on mainly because I I want to try to get the video up as soon as I can.
Which makes sense.
It takes so long to upload the video, rather than use up the time to try to put in all those graphics. I figured let's just upload the thing
you,
now.
Andy, and Joe Faley on the call, and the Portage Indians have not scored a touchdown since their week 1 win at Mishawaka. They were shut out by Penn, and last week ate the hard way against placing up 2 field goals and a safety. But this is the one game, it seems like every year, Portage gets up for. Last year was a wild affair over at the Warpath, 41-38, and 2 years ago with Jeremy Flowers last year, Portage were winless going into the game, and they escaped every win a win.
Yeah, that was very shocking to a lot of people. I was surprised myself, but I don't know, for whatever reason, they always come out fired up and they come ready to play in this game, and this Maryville better not be looking ahead. They better be very focused for this game, because I know Portage is going to be coming out fired up. They had a game last week that they very well could have won. There were some questionable calls towards the end of that ball game. Portage could very well be 2-1 right now. So, Maryville escaped, with a narrow victory over Crown Point. This is going to be a tough matchup, and I think this is going to be a very good ball game, Bob. But I think that Maryville's offense is a little bit more explosive than what Portage has right now. I don't think the Indians offensively can put up enough points to win this game. Their offense has not proven anything to me over the first 3 weeks.
Maryville, I'm just looking here at all but probably, they're 2 games at home this year. They're averaging 36.5 points a game, and one of those games is a loss to Andrean. The last time Maryville was held to 28 or less was last year in the sectional final. Crown Point held them to 24 points in the sectional final in a game Maryville won. And before that, the last team to hold them under 28 at home, you're going to have to go back to Crown Point in the 2011 sectional final. So Maryville at home has a propensity for putting points on the scoreboard, and I look for Maryville to win this one by a couple of touchdowns this week.
Yeah, I think Portage, their offense is a little more encouraging from what I'd seen from last week. I think Pierman can get the job done throwing short passes. The spread offense is a good fit for this personnel group, but overall, Maryville, I think, just has the better team, and they have more explosive playmakers on both sides of the ball. I don't think Portage can overcome that on the road. Riverside, Brookfield, Illinois, Bob. I know you know a lot about that program. They're traveling the west side. They're going to play the Cougars.
If you love scoring and the forward pass, check this game out. I don't know how Riverside was done recently, but that's how before we were line I Tip Racing, if you remember, about 10 or so years ago, they had this high-fly spread, the air raid offense at the high school level with Racing. Basically, it was an offense designed to beat Mount Carmel in the state tournament. It didn't happen. They lost like 61-54 was the final score in I think a quarterfinal game that year. But Westside officially 0-3. They had to forfeit their win over Lidlow. Jumped on top of the Andrean last week, 14-0. So Jason Johnson's ball club trying to get things back to the 500 mark on the field. I am going to be confident that the Cougars can get it done over RB coming up on Friday night.
I have to agree with you, Bob. I think that offense is going to get back on track, and they're going to take care of business at home. Obviously, I'm with you. I don't know a whole lot about Riverside. I don't know anything about it. You know more than I do, but I know that West Side offense is pretty potent, and I think they'll get the job done. South Central taking on Whiting. Whiting they've got a pretty impressive streak going now in the Greater South Shore Conference. It's been a while since they've lost a game in conference play. And obviously last season they went undefeated in the regular season, and this season they're 3-0. So conventional thinking says the Oilers are going to keep that winning streak alive.
The last loss in the Greater South Shore, October 7th, 2011, to River Forest. How about that?
Interesting.
There you go.
I'm I'm really surprised with how much South Central has been struggling over the first few weeks. I thought the Satellites would be a team that might be able to make some noise in the conference this year. They've really struggled over the first few weeks. Whiting has picked up right where they left off last season. I just don't see South Central being able to put up enough offense in this game, and they're not going to be able to slow down the high power of Whiting.
I like the Oilers. Oilers, and the thing for Whiting, Jeff Kane, their games this year, they kind of on the slow starts. I think last week was probably the best game they had in the first half before they broke it open. They've been a second half team all year, and there might be a chance again this coming week, but I look for the Oilers to take care of business. And again, that matchup ribbon next week with Bishop Knoll down on the border of Hamilton and Chicago. That's going to be a game to really keep an eye on next week.
Well, speaking of the Greater South Shore Conference, winless Wheeler taking on North Newton. Winless Wheeler.
I don't think they've ever been 0-3.
Actually, I think they were 0-3 last year.
Okay, I retract what I just said. I don't think they're going to be 0-3 prior to last year.
I don't know when they started their football program, but I wouldn't know for sure.
They won their first game, I think. I think so.
Anyway.
Because who coached that team? Chip Pettit was the first coach at Wheeler High School. Yeah, they won their first game over Lake Station 55-0.
All right,
there's your trivia question for today.
Well, we were looking for their first victory. They're taking on North Newton, Bob, and this Wheeler team has really. I'm shocked at how much they've struggled the first 3 weeks of the season. Offensively, it has not been good. They've given up some high point totals. Can this Bearcat team turn things around? Tough one on the road, playing in Morocco, but this might be a very winnable game for the Bearcats.
North Newton's averaging 34 points a game. They've been putting up points, and they put 20 on Rensselaer. Not frankly, they gave them 56, but I'm going to go with the Spartans here. I like North Newton at home in Morocco to send Wheeler to 0-4.
Well, I'm going to disagree on that pick. I think this is going to be talking about Falco's game with LaPorte, just what the doctor ordered. I think this game for Wheeler is just what the doctor ordered. I like the Bearcats on the road. I think it's going to be a competitive ball game, but I do think that they have what it takes to take down the Spartans. Now that they're in conference play, I think Wheeler's going to start winning a lot more games as well, because I don't think they're at the bottom of the Greater South Shore Conference. The competition they played for the first 3 weeks of the season is really good. So I like Wheeler to win this one on the road. This is a Saturday game. LaPorte Lalamere playing Omen Academy.
Wow, who knew?
I know. I did some digging around to find the game because I didn't know it was on a Saturday, but Bowman, they've had their struggles. They're 1-2 on the season. Their only win was against Lake Station. Lalamere, I think, was also 1-2.
1-1.
Okay.
They beat Elkhart Christian, and Elkhart Christian also lost to Forest.
Well, very interesting. This is probably going to be a barn burner of a game, Bob. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a pretty close ball game.
Could be an interesting game. I don't know. I don't have a coin to flip, so and I don't want to break my phone. Let's go Bowman. I don't know anything about these two teams, I'll be honest, other than the fact that Bowman's kind of first-year head coach. Had a rough one last week against Hammond High at the Reggie Lake Station for their first win. I'm going to go Bowman here.
Soaring Eagles. Eagles will fly again. I like Bowman to win that game as well. Going back to the Northwest Crossroads Conference, this game has become a rivalry. I don't think there's any dismissing that. Kankakee Valley, Hobart, this game's a big deal now.
And I will be there at the Brickyard on Friday night, and it's going to be interesting, let me just say that. KB they're not sneaking up on anybody this year. Lost to Belcan last week. Hobart, very explosive offensively. They've had some issues defensively so far. Can the Brickies right their defense Friday night at the Brickyard? Can KB stun them? And I think the last couple of times KB's gone up to Hobart, they've won too as well. So
yeah, they're not going to be intimidated.
well, but I just think Hobart, Brickies, offensively, I think they're going to find a way. They can afford to cheat defensively this week because King's not a strong passing team. I think they did complete a couple passes last week at Lowell or against Lowell, but they're not a throwing team. I think Hobart's going to be able to contain that rushing attack for Brad Spears Ball Club. I look for the Brickies to win by a couple of scores.
I think KB is not quite what they were last year. I don't think they're a bad team, but I don't think they're at the level that they were a year ago. Johnny Williams is a very good talent, but he's not Justin Green. Justin Green, watching highlights, you saw him in person. He's just an outstanding player, and he had his way with that Brickie defense last week. This is a challenge to Hobart. Hobart's got a great offense, but their defense has been very suspect over the first 2 weeks of this season. And you and I both know you want to make a deep run in the playoffs. You cannot depend on your offense to just outscore teams every single week. It will eventually catch up with you. Marigold is a great example of that team last year. They made their living just outscoring teams, putting up incredible numbers, put up 50 on Fort Wayne Carroll in the regional. But eventually, their defense could not hold up, and that came in the semi-state, and they ended up losing in a shootout game.
But they were there.
They were there, but I'm just saying, you make your living, try to outscore teams. Eventually, your defense has to step up. This is an open challenge to the Brickie defense this week. They've got to step up and prove themselves. I think their offense is great. Look, this has been a great game for the most part the last few years. Although in that sectional, Hobart had their way with the Cougars. They made a lot of
38-0.
They made a lot of adjustments.
And there was a big controversial play. Remember that probably cost Hobart very dearly the following week against Mishawaka. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Burgess got kicked out, and a lot of the Hobart fans said, "Whoops, what did he do? He didn't do anything." And boy, oh boy.
But the first 3 weeks, Hobart's offense has been incredible. KV, their offense has been anemic at times. Lowell put up 27 points on this Cougar defense. This game is a no-brainer to me, Bob. Making his first appearance, I'm bringing out the cheese for this one.
I see you had to repaint it after it was painted blue and white.
Got out the spray can, painted up that bad boy yellow, and it's going to stay that way. Hobart is going to win this ball game. It is a lock. They're going to win this by at least 2 or 3 touchdowns.
I hope you don't have to go to Wheatfield anytime soon.
I think I do in a couple of weeks. But I got to take the Bricks in this one. They're not going to lose to KV this time.
It's not my power play of the week, but that's coming up shortly.
Well, it's time for the big 3 games of the week. And making an appearance in the Big 3 is a team down south in Jasper County, Rensselaer. The Bombers, they're 3-0, and they've been extremely impressive in their first 3 games. They are just putting up some huge numbers. They're taking down the Tipton Blue Devils. They're a top 5 team in Class 2A. I'll tell you what, Bob, if the Bombers can somehow pull this one off, you might have to start talking about it as a contender. Because I
think they're already a contender as it is, a 2-way to begin with. But you're looking at the last survey, they've had a lot of points so far this season. They shut down KV, but Tipton, they probably have one of the most impressive wins of the season against a lot of people like to get back to Lucas on stage, and they took care of them convincingly. 3 touchdowns. That would have been simple, not exactly the caliber, but that counted the Heights game. That's a 5-star win right there for the Blue Devils.
Well, let's keep in mind one very important factor. Their starting quarterback, Austin Hooker, was hurt in week 2. He hurt his non-throwing shoulder. He will not be playing this weekend. The reports that I have heard, he is out for the rest of the season. That is a huge blow to that offense. They run kind of a spread attack. They're very similar to Andrean. Comparing their styles, they run a lot of read option. They run a lot of
Tipton
spread.
is the side of still, in my opinion, the greatest football game I've witnessed in person in my life. Did you know that? The 1994 3-8 overtime I
I did not know that.
where Tipton beat Griffith by a yard on a missed 2-point conversion at the gun in 1994, 25-24.
Well, that's very interesting news.
I guess the
Look, before
I get the feeling you don't like my history lessons.
no, it's great. It's great, and some people are going to reminisce with that. I look at this ball game, and before I heard the news about Hooker, I was going to say, you know what, I think Rensselaer's a pretty good team, but they haven't really played a team that can actually sling the football. And I thought that Tipton's offense would give them a lot of problems because they really haven't played a great throwing quarterback. But with Hooker being out of the game, look, they weren't that impressive at Elwood. Only winning by 9 points.
But then they hooked 65 on Bennett.
Yeah.
Granted, the Bison are not a great team,
Right,
but still.
I think this is a different story. They're playing in Rensselaer. If you've ever been there for a game, it's very similar to KV as far as just the intensity, how loud the crowd is. It's a very difficult place for an opposing team to win. And I think when you have a quarterback that hasn't made very many starts, not very experienced, this is going to be tough for Tipton on the road. And this is Rensselaer's chance, with as well as they played the first 2 weeks, they can really make a statement in week 4.
I think the next 3 games for Tipton after this week. You want to talk about not looking ahead?
Yeah, that's
West Lafayette, Central Catholic, and Sheridan.
That's rough. And Rensselaer's got to play 2 of those teams down the road.
Now,
as
last
well.
year, Tipton won 40-18, 41-14. Rensselaer last won this matchup 3 years ago. I believe it was the last trip to Summit State.
Yes, it was.
They doubled up the Blue Devils 40-20.
And if you look at Rensselaer's team this year, they've been extremely impressive. Look at how they ended last season, Bob. Falling their game by just a touchdown. They've really built on that. I think what they've done this season reflects how much they improved last year. I think the Bombers are the real deal, and I'm going to pick them to win this ball game.
I look at this Rensselaer, they got to run the ball. They're not a throwing team. Tipton is probably going to dare to throw the ball. I just look at it. I know you said Tipton's quarterback probably out for the year, but if I know anything about the Blue Devils, they got a pretty good quarterback play over the years, especially with throwing quarterbacks. It's Mike Toll and our son Aaron Toll taking things over. I know it's going to be a frenzy atmosphere. I think Rensselaer's going to be in a competitive game, but I just think a lot of people like Tipton to get to Lucas Oil out of the north.
They were my pick, and they were
a lot
my
of
pick.
people like them. I just, for some reason, despite that, with the back, I think Tipton finds a way to get it done on the road Friday night.
All right, moving on. Our next game, Andrean, they're 3-0. They've been, they put up some high point totals, taking out a Munster team that they're 2-1. Couldn't quite get it done against Chesterton, but huge win over Lake Central. What a big ball game this is, and for the Munster Mustangs, this is a chance for them to eclipse the total win total from last season. They won 2 games all year. They already have 2 wins going into this ball game.
The 59ers have scored 150 points in the first 3 games, and I think we were talking to Coach Phil Mason, they probably have not played their best football at all.
When you get a shower,
That's scary.
Yeah, there's no doubting those numbers. They put up 34 points on Maryville.
That was one of the best games I've seen in a long time, too. Back and forth, little lead changes in the fourth quarter.
I'll tell you what, if Munster wants to cement itself as a contender in the NCC, they need to put out a good showing this week against Andrean. And even if they lose this game, if they can take it down to the wire and make Andrean sweat for this one, it would go a long way to cementing themselves as a top-tier team in the Northwest Crossroads Conference. I still think Andrean is a much better team than the Mustangs, and I don't think that Munster's offense is going to be able to move the ball as fluidly as it has in some of these other games. I think Andrean has one of the best defenses in the area, and I like the 59ers to win this by a couple of touchdowns.
I think Munster's defense is going to keep it close. The special teams can be a watch, but Matt DeSilva right now I think is playing at another level right now. And he spreads the ball around, runs that read option about as well as anybody in Northwest Indiana. He's the reason that I am giving Andrean, I'm picking Andrean, and they are my power play to win. Andrean over Munster.
All right, so I like that. I like that power play. I hope you score on that one. Game of the week.
I would have been perfect if it weren't for Mother Nature.
Oh yeah, let's play in the weather.
Mister, you were ducking and covering from that. They forced you out of the press box, Mister. We stayed in Maryville, Mister. Okay.
All right, game of the week. Boy, is this going to be a great one. Crown Point, Lake Central, arguably the two best defenses in the area.
Could this be, dare I say, a 4-3 game? It might be.
It's a slobber knocker. It's going to be. You want to talk about 3 yards in a cloud of dust? That's what you're going to see in this ball game.
Or a clump of mud at the burial ground.
Yeah. Maybe not dust, but yeah, you might be right. It could be a mud bowl. I mean, you talk about defensive football. These two teams have been extremely impressive. Crown Point, losing narrowly 14-13 to Maryville last week. They could have won that game. Lake Central pulled out a very low-scoring, tight game against Portage. I think this game is going to be the same way. I think what you saw Lake Central and Portage, this game with Crown Point is going to be the same type of deal.
Two teams that, if you look at it, struggling to put points on the board. They're both very strong defensively. Offensively, I think both teams are where they're at. I think Alabama is still out.
I don't know. I don't know if he played last week.
I don't think he has or whatnot. You look at it, if you love defense, head to the Barry Branch Friday night because this is going to be a good old-fashioned game. It's going to be the antithesis of the game that I had last week where you're going to see probably about 15, 20 punts probably in this game would be my guess. It's going to be good, hard-hitting defense and whatnot. I just think Crown Point has some playmakers on offense. I mean, like some of the playmakers on defense, led by Galen Robinson. I just think Tristan Houston and Jadis and the height they have at the receiver is going to be a slight difference. And in a game, low scoring, hard-hitting defense, and the narrowest of margins has some type of determined outcome. I see this being like a 14-12 type game. I like the Bulldogs on the road.
Well, Bob, I have to completely agree with you on your assessment of this game. I think Crown Point has an advantage at the quarterback position, and I agree with you. I think their playmakers on offense are a little better. And it might be a couple of big plays. Crown Point might not be able to sustain a lot of drives, but they have big play potential with Tristan Peterson. They can get a couple of deep passes. I think that their offense will do just enough to get it done. I'm just not. I think Lake Central's offense is a work in progress right now. It needs to improve a lot. Their defense is going to keep throwing a lot of games, but I think their offense is going to have to be more efficient down the road. And I think Crown Point's defense. You want to talk about great defenses. Portage did a great job, put up a number defensively last week against Lake Central. I think Crown Point does the same thing. I think I'm with you. I'm looking at like a 14-10 kind of game, or maybe 14-12 or whatever. Somewhere in the teens. I like Crown Point to win this game as well. All right. So that is our show for this week. We thank you for watching and wish us some luck on these picks.